the luxury of self-destruction to be self-aware. Why my mind malfunctions into this reverse? Smile, I walk to get a drink from the machine. Why my mind malfunctions? I, the luxury of self-destruction to be self-aware.
Hello everybody, my name is Paul Dennison and I am a brand artist here in Australia. And today I'm going to be showcasing new cool shades. We have 3 new shades in the Berlin range and I'm going to be using those shades today. So the shades that we have, very excitingly, are 7.2, 8.2 and 9.2. Now, these are a real great reflex. They're a lot softer than the conventional ash or the matte shades that you have already. It's going to give that real soft pearl effect on your blondes. What we've got with this shade, we're going to show some dimension, we're going to show some movement, and we're going to show you a way to create interesting kind of shapes and handles within the haircut. Obviously, as the haircut stands at the moment, we're not fully finished because once the color has been placed, we can refine our shape a little bit more. We want to create quite a strong and bold kind of disconnection here on this one side. Then you use my section flicked, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate this fringe area from the back to the front. The reason why you do this is because it allows for a clean application, putting my section in, because I want to make sure we have even distribution there. And I'm going to isolate this through here. And again, because this up the way. Might also just put a smaller section clip into this front area just to make sure that as we're working. So you can kind of see it so far that we've isolated that top and we slightly worked more of a softer crescent around that back area, and that is going to allow that top section to veil and fall over the top there. Okay, so through these side areas here, what we want to do is we want to create a slight softness, and we want to maintain this strength through this front area, because this color technique is all about showing depth and that baseline, but still creating movement within our blondes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a triangle section. Now here we are just going to leave, on this side, we're going to leave a slightly stronger outline. And in this, it's just going to take a triangle section through here, as you can see. So nice and strong. We'll just clean that up here. And we're going to clip this up and out of the way. So you can see that section there. So this is going to be our first section that we're going to color through this underneath. I'm just going to mimic that through the other side, but because where we've left this side a little bit stronger, we're not going to go as strong on this side. We're going to be a little bit softer with our blondes through there and out of the way. So again, we've created that deep V here on the second side. And now we're just going to create a third, which sits through this back area that connects these two together. So you can see how that section is diffused nicely through there. So this is going to be our area that we're going to kind of take with our darkest shade. The shade that we're going to be using through that underneath area is 6.1 and 7.2 with 20 volume. So I'm just going to mix that up and then we'll start applying this through that under section. So when we mix our product, we are mixing equal parts 6.1 and 7.2. And we are using 20 volume, and we're just mixing that nicely with a whisk just to make sure we get a beautiful consistency, making sure we have no lumps. That's going to ensure a lovely even application.
So for something like this, when we're applying the color, I like to use the smaller of the brushes. This just allows us to get a little bit more control over our application. And we're just going to start by going round and outlining our section with our color. And what I mean by that is we're just framing so we know where we're going to be going with our color there. Can you see? We're starting to just apply that color through. I like to make sure that everything is kept clean and neat. Quite considered in my application method. We're going to start from this back area. We're going to be pulling all our subsequent sections back away from the face. So starting from this back, just layering our color through. First, we're going to take it through the root area, and then we're going to bring it through to those ends as well. When we apply the 11 permanent color, the consistency that we have with it is really going to help to get a beautiful result, because the consistency of the color is really soft. Not too runny, it's not too thick. And this allows us to manipulate our color through the hair in order to make sure that every hair is completely saturated. I'm going to do these two back sections first, and then I'm going to be taking that color through there as well. What you'll find with our new shades that we have, the 0.2s, is they're going to sit nicely with your blondes. The blonde, the reflect that you get is not as heavy as the 0.1 or the 0.7. And they can be intermixed beautifully with all the other shades that we have. That's the beauty of the 11 Australia permanent color and demi-permanent color range. Everything is fully intermixable, allowing us to create bespoke color for all our clients. I'm very much a fan of creating custom formulas. I like to make sure that I'm giving my client something that she can't get out of a box, something that she wouldn't be able to replicate herself from a department store or a chemist. And I think that's really important when you are selecting a shade for your client as well. Because the aim of this game is not just to make people look good, but to keep them looking good and keeping them coming back to your chair time and time again. And this technique is a really good variation on your standard full head color. We're layering color and we're using it cleverly to make that haircut really stand out, to create and help to create depth and allow movement within the hair, show off that real solid line. I've been really excited about the launch of these shades. I was really lucky that we tested them out last year. I'm in Copenhagen and I came out with the guys and we got to play with a lot of the new shades and create some beautiful images, which I'm hopefully you're going to be seeing soon. They sat so nicely on the hair. I'm just going to grab myself a towel to make sure we keep our hands nice and clean before we work onto the side section. Take a couple of pieces of foil for this front section here. Got to be a little bit more delicate because of the hairline. So again, this is going to form the baseline, and this is what's going to help us to create that shape of that bevel of the hair that we have here. We're going to be using the depth of this color to create shadow and movement. So we're going to then repeat this on this second side. So you can see how we've applied through that section there, keeping it really nice and neat. And I know that when we talk about change with our clients as hairdressers, we instantly go right to that other end of the spectrum where we think that that client wants to go from a brunette to a platinum blonde. But if we're being honest, change to our clients can be as simple as going maybe one shade lighter, one shade darker, maybe a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler. And this technique could be a really good way of helping to do that. So we started off by applying that underneath section. And again, our formula is 6.1 and 7.2. I'm just going to place a couple of pieces of foil on here, which will also help us to isolate that underneath color in preparation for our next section. So the next color that we're going to be mixing on these three sections here is 8.2 with 20 volume. So I'm going to mix that up and then I'll be back and we'll apply that through. So starting from the back here, I'm just going to drop these sections down. And this is going to be our first section. So when we're applying our color, what we are making sure that we're doing is as we outline this, we're making sure we overlap. So there's no areas of hair that haven't been colored. It's okay to just merge those two colors together there, because that's going to be much more precise than if we were to leave an area of her existing hair color. And then we're just going to work up through this back area. So our shade again that we're using is 8.2. I can't wait for you guys to try all these colors so you can create the most beautiful soft pearl blondes. And then working our sections through the underneath. Sorry, not the underneath, through the root area. And again, we're pulling everything back from the face here. This is a really quick technique for when you're working within the salon. Obviously, when you're presenting it, like I am now, it can probably take a little bit longer. Like with any technique, color choice is going to affect how the result will be. So we're using very soft shades. And the idea of this really is that you don't see the difference in the colors as such. They all blend together quite nicely. Having said that, there's nothing to stop you from being really bold with your selection and color choice and using real kind of differences in shades. We could do this maybe with a 3-0 through the underneath, or like a heavy base 3. We could then work into something maybe copper through these mid areas, and then we could have a really nice blonde sitting over the top, because remember, all the work we're doing is internal. So it's only really when that hair moves are you going to see these undercolors through here. So that's the beauty of this technique. You can really have fun with it. You can really experiment and you can really play. So we're starting to work those two sections there. And we're just coming on to our final side triangle here. As this is processing, I can already start to see these colors coming to life here. That's what I love about coloring hair. And as you're applying the color, you get to kind of see, kind of get a little glimpse behind the curtain as the color is starting to come to life. So that is now our second color applied, and that's our 8.2. And we've layered that through. So these triangles are going to interlock, and that is going to create like a real fluid undercolor through that. Even though we've got these strong pieces around the front, around the hairlines, that hair is going to fall over, so you're not going to see that real strength deliberately, we've left this side a little bit stronger because I want to see a little kind of peekaboo of the darkness through there. But on the other side, you'll see when it's dry, that color is going to really diffuse quite nicely. So you can see now that's going to leave us with this top section that we're going to be applying our color through next. So our next shade that we're going to mix up is 9.2 with 30 volume. And I will mix that up now. Really making sure you get a good solid mix of that developer in with the shade as well. So we're going to apply this throughout this top section of hair. And we're just going to work all this backwards. Again, first we're going to make sure that we isolate and make sure we've gone all the way around and kind of covered that join area or the seam. And we're going to start through the roots and then take through to those ends. Obviously we're using 9.2 and we're using 30 vol now. And if this was on maybe not a tuition head, we would have to make sure that maybe we applied through to those ends first and then maybe went back through to the root area, because we don't want to end up with the roots being too hot through there and all. But for the purposes of demonstration and the fact that we are working on a tuition head, we don't have to worry too much about heat from the scalp causing any problems. So we can just apply this roots through to ends. When I'm doing this, I'm taking maybe 1/2 inch sections just to make sure that we are making sure that product is going right the way through the hair from the underneath, making sure that that hair is fully saturated all the way from the root to the tip. So that leaves our fringe section. Now, we're just going to wipe our hands so we have no color on here. And we're still going to be using, for the first part of this, the 9.2. Now, I want to show you what we're going to do with this fringe here, because this is, they say the devil is in the detail, and this is where the real detail comes in. Because we're using a small or a smaller amount of hair, we have to be a little bit more delicate with our section in here. Now, we could do 3 layers. So we could just go straight across this fringe. We could go like 9.2, 8.2, and then our 7.2 through that. But we want to kind of be a little bit more, have a bit more fun than that, really. So we are going to work slightly more on a diagonal. So our burst section is going to cut through, and it's going to give us slightly more of a triangular feel to it. Okay. So again, using our 9.2, just going to paint that out of the way. And then we're going to take this color through. And again, we're going to paint it back away from the face. So we kind of create a bit more interest in there. We're not just going to go full straight sections. We're going to kind of use heaviness on the one side, and we're going to create a bit more depth and shadow through here, and a little bit more blondness through the side. So that color tends to kind of graduate through that a little bit more. So can you see how we've gone from something slightly, got a little bit of color on there. So we've gone slightly tighter in there, and we've got a slightly thicker section on that side. So we've taken more of an angle to it. So it's more of a slice on a diagonal as opposed to straight across. Again, take a piece of foil and isolate. We're now going to revert back to our mid color. And again, we're going to be using on a slight diagonal Still want to maintain a bit more depth through here. But that there is going to be our darker area of our fringe. So there's going to be no dark in this area of the fringe here. There's going to be a lot more dark here, but that gradually diffuses itself through. So this is going to be our darkest section. This is going to be our midsection, and then our light is going to fall over the top. But that dark, because we've gone a little bit stronger through there, is going to continue and just diffuse into that fringe. Again, just to make sure we're keeping everything nice and clean, we're just going to isolate that section with our tint. And then we're going to work this back onto the hairline, onto the foil, sorry, not hairline. Because this is the fringe area, and this is where the real impact is going to sit. Prevention is better than cure. So anytime you get any color on the skin, take that off instantly. And then for our last section, we are going to utilize our first shade, which is 6.1 and 7.2. We're going to apply that through this small triangle of hair. Nice and clean. So, to recap, we started by isolating that fringe, and we saved that till the end. So we clip that out of the way. Then we formed a rectangle across the parting, having about an inch of hair either side of the parting and incorporating the crown, and we clip that up and out of the way. We then formed 3 triangles through the side, which left our under section with almost slightly that zigzag feel. We then applied formula number 1, which was equal parts of 6.1 and 7.2, and we took that right the way through from root to end through that underneath section. We then isolated that with the foil, and then we mixed up 8.2 and applied that through our 3 triangles. We then mixed up our third formula, which is 9.2 with 30 volume, and we took that through that top area. Now, remember, that's going to fall all the way down. Because this is a bob, that line, that 9.2 is going to sit over the top of everything. So she's still going to look really blonde, but it's only when she moves her hair that that color will come out through the underneath. We then, through the fringe, rather than going straight across, we tilted and we diagonaled that slightly thicker through this one side. We then went 9.2, 8.2, and then we did our final formula, which was our 6.1 and our 7.2 to tie in with our thicker area of our dark section through that front. So it is going to frame nicely through there, and this blonde hair is going to diffuse beautifully into the dark, and it's just going to create a real nice kind of corner through here of strength. So that's been my technique. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your comments and your feedback, and I'd love for you to, if you use this formulation, use the formula, or if you use this application technique, please feel free to tag me, tag 11 Australia Pro, and show us your results. Thank you.
The luxury of self-destruction to be self-aware. Why my mind malfunctions into this reverse? Smile, I walk to get a drink from the machine. Why my mind malfunctions? The luxury